Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, April the 25th, 2017. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. As always, to start off the show, let me remind you all of the ways in which you can interact and contribute to the show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please don't forget that hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. Also, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like the fan page once you're on or once you find it. Really quickly off the top, so we have a little bit of a developing pattern here. As you know, last week I had and look, if there's bad weather, I can understand it, but there isn't right now. Obviously, last week there was a number of technical problems, from getting on the air to having some video, audio kind of deals going on. That was last week. And tonight I'm having similar problems. I had massive amounts of trouble getting on the air tonight. I'm not really sure what the problem is. I've sent a number of error reports. I've been in touch with tech support, and it's just not coming together here. So I'm not really sure what exactly is going on. As I've been saying for the last couple of shows, if any of you out there have a problem, whether it's accessing our show or with video or audio or whatever the case may be, please do let us know. You can email us, tweet it, Facebook it, whatever you have to do. The more details we have, the better. So don't hesitate. Again, email, Facebook, or tweet us any problems you have. I am having a massive amount of problems. It's been a true exercise in patience for me these last three shows trying to get on the air. And I'm not doing anything differently. I haven't changed anything. There's no updates on my computer. Maybe that's part of the thing. But again, everything that I've seen or heard and research indicates that this is not on my end, that this is on the other end of things, meaning on their end. So I'm doing everything I can possibly do. I've sent error reports. I've talked to the right people. It just doesn't seem to be getting fixed. So the more detail any of you can give me if you do have problems, that would be beneficial. But as of right now, I don't know what's going on. So bear with us. I'm trying to figure this out. I have no idea. Apparently neither do they. So, but again, if any of you have any problems or errors or anything out there, please do let us know. Because again, the more detail we have, the better we can kind of get to the bottom of this and figure out what the deal is here. So as my co-host joins me in the spotlight here, you just got your little nod there. That's what you're gonna do, nod.
Fixing my hair. Can you hear me?
Oh, it looked like you were nodding.
No.
My dog agrees. I can hear you, yes, sir.
Good. You're super fucking late again.
Did you not hear what I was talking about? Well, you probably didn't. You came in halfway through. If I can't help,
it doesn't help that you also like when.
I acknowledge that there's a problem. I can't do anything about it.
See, I was omitting a syllable. Can't do that for some reason. Try. And I was just on a solid stream of SmackDown, so why couldn't you have waited another 10 minutes if you were going to do it?
Well, okay, I'm going to point something out to you, Mike. You could have waited 10 minutes to come on and just been late.
No.
See? That works two ways. Oh.
No, because you were late, and if I get on late, then we go later.
Right. Okay. Not necessarily, because there's something that I talk about that you don't talk about, so that would have been fine.
There's some things that I just don't talk about for reasons that I don't want to talk about, and I'm super tired. So those are things. So I suggest we jump right in because that's what we should do.
Well, anyway, so here's
before Google kicks your ass off again.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Well, they don't kick us off. They just prevent us from getting on, which is interesting. But anyway, all right. So with that being said, that's our little host chat. Here's the deal for tonight. We have a mixed bag tonight. We have a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of sports. There'll be no wrestling tonight because we'll be saving that for Thursday. So, you know, box office beat, TV highlights, a little entertainment news discussion. Sports-wise, we're not going to do any baseball tonight. I know I put in the show description major sports headlines implying that they were plural. More or less, we're just going to discuss the NBA because there's really nothing else that warrants being talked about right this second. So we will just talk about the NBA tonight, and that will be our only sports discussion here tonight. So most of the show, I should say, is going to be more entertainment affiliated with box office, TV highlights, and we'll do a little bit of entertainment news. And that's going to be our show tonight. So we don't have a lot to get to tonight because we're leaving the wrestling for Thursday. And on Thursday, as I promoted last week, we'll be previewing WWE's Payback pay-per-view. We'll go over the matches, make predictions, all that good stuff. And, of course, do questions and comments in the second half of the show. So anybody out there that would like to submit a question or comment that hasn't already done so, you can do that now or before the show. And, of course, you can do it during the show on Thursday as well. So please do keep all that in mind. Next week, we have one show. That will be next Tuesday, May the 2nd. And it'll be just like tonight, sports, entertainment, combo. Of course, there'll be a little wrestling in there, too, because we'll be doing that, too. But, it'll be just like tonight. NBA, any other sports stuff we have to cover, entertainment, box office, TV highlights, wrestling, all that will be on next Tuesday's show. And then next Thursday, we will be preempted. So that's what's coming up this week. That's what's coming up next week. I'll get into what goes on beyond that as we get closer. Don't want to give you too much information too soon because then I have to end up reminding you all anyway. It's just kind of pointless to do that. So we won't do that. All right, so with that being said, and as we always do throughout the NBA playoffs, any NBA playoff games that are ongoing or taking place, we like to update you throughout the show, whether it's a sports show or an entertainment show. And we do have a couple of score updates really quick as we jump into the NBA discussion, which, again, is going to be our major discussion points, discussion as far as sports go tonight. A couple of things here first. As I try to pull this up, I'm not getting an update here. Oh, here we go. A lot of things have changed since we last been on the air, so we got some things to get to. But my score thing's not loading. I don't know why. Oh, wait. Here it comes, finally. Here we go. We got 3 games tonight, 2 of which are ongoing. We have the third quarter, 2 minutes and 40 seconds in that game. In the third quarter, I should say. TNT, Oklahoma City leads Houston by 1 point, 71-70 in that game. Memphis and San Antonio also ongoing on NBA TV right now. San Antonio leads that game 38-35 with 6:16 left in the second quarter there. Later on tonight on TNT, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, you have the Jazz and the Clippers. That series tied at 2 games apiece. So that's what the deal is there as far as the games that are ongoing. Obviously, as you get later into a series, obviously everything gets magnified. And look, some of these series, I think we have to admit, have been a little bit more competitive than we all probably thought they would be. Even the Jazz, look, I thought the Jazz would be, look, that series is a 4-5 matchup. It should be competitive, but I still think in a lot of ways, most people thought the Clippers that the Jazz record was inflated, that, they were kind of a year ahead of time, and that it wouldn't be like it is. And the Jazz have really shown up and are really showing people that they could be a team to be reckoned with here. Gordon Hayward's been playing great basketball. It's been really, it's kind of been maybe it's because people don't get the chance to watch Utah games because they're always the West Coast games. But it's really been a revelation to see Utah play the way they have. And look, the pressure's all on the Clippers here. This is a team that has not broke through the glass ceiling. They've been here numerous times before. This is a team that a lot of people say that if they don't win this series, heck, if they don't get at least the Western Conference Finals, a lot of people think that there's going to be significant change. If Blake's out for the rest of at least the rest of this series. Look, Blake Griffin's a guy that they tried to move already. You figure they try to move him again. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen here? But I think, there would be some kind of changes if they lose this series. Now, that series is tied at 2 games apiece. Another ongoing series tonight is the Spurs and the Grizzlies. That series, surprisingly, is tied at 2 games apiece. And look, Memphis has really shown up at home. I remember when this series shifted to Memphis and San Antonio was up 2 games nothing. Everybody's like, well, this ain't going to be what it was a couple years ago where Memphis kind of took control and then that was it. Look, Memphis is not that good. This San Antonio team's clearly superior. Well, Memphis has gotten themselves back in it, and here they are from 1 in this game here tonight. Look, Memphis is fine. Look, sometimes you go home, change the scenery, you get your momentum going. Memphis is not a bad basketball team. They're not. This ain't like the Portland Golden State matchup, which was just a mismatch to begin with. Memphis is not a bad team. They're going to be competitive, and you're seeing that in this series so far. So, where you stand right now is, Memphis has to steal a game in San Antonio. Now, if they were to win tonight and go back home up 3-2, that's a scary situation for San Antonio, the way Memphis has played in the series at home. That is a very scary situation. And look, this is not Tim Duncan, San Antonio. Yeah, Tony Parker is still. I mean, you got leadership is still there, but for the most part, this is different for them. This is different. So it's going to be interesting to see how they would respond in a situation like that. Although with Popovich, you'd like to think that that it wouldn't change much, but still, different players. So we'll see. I mean, but right now, Memphis has to win tonight, and they're down by 1 with 6 minutes left in the second quarter there. The other game tonight, Oklahoma City, Houston. Look, this is a series that's been dominated by the whole idea of Westbrook versus Harden. And obviously, everything that's taken place, in that history there, they both played for Oklahoma City. They split. Now Westbrook's trying to lead the Thunder on his own. Harden's trying to lead the Rockets on his own. That's the compelling storyline for the most part, is that. And it's lived up to that billing where you have that was a nice real Universal plug. Sorry about that. Anyway, so it's lived up to the billing in that series of having the whole Westbrook versus Harden thing. But I think what you're seeing in this series, is that the supporting cast are important. And we've said that since day one. I think everybody said that. You could have that superstar, but oftentimes that superstar needs help. And Harden has more help than Westbrook does. That's the bottom line. Harden has more help than Westbrook does. The Thunder are not what they once were. Durant's not there. Ibaka's not there. They have guys, yes, but they're not ready to step up yet. And ultimately, that's really what it comes down to, is that the Rockets are more ready for this than the Thunder are in their current setup. So you look at this series, and I'm trying to pull this up without having ads go crazy on me. Here it is. No, not yet. Okay. There it goes. All right, so I just don't want the sound to come on. Okay. There it goes. It's muted. All right, so you look at this series and where it stands right now. Rockets lead 3-1. Now, if they win tonight, the series is over, obviously. Now, there's this feeling that if they ever win this game tonight, that Houston would feel more pressure because in these situations they folded in the past. Even though they would still be leading this series, they would feel more pressure. Look, I think you do. I think you up the ante a little bit. I think that's a given. But so when you still have the lead in a series, I don't care if you've been there or what. I don't care. Even if the other team gets the momentum back, but as long as you still have the lead in the series, you still have the momentum. Now, if Oklahoma City wins the next 2 games, even though that Game 7 would be in Houston, yes, I would agree that more pressure would be on Houston in that situation because of what's happened in the past, and because of the fact that they've blown it in these situations, and they would have blown a 3-1 lead. So that would be where the pressure would happen. Yes, I'd agree with that. So, you know what? You have to see. Right now, I'd say everything's holding firm in terms of what we all thought. Maybe, again, Utah playing a lot better than we all would have given them credit for. Obviously, Golden State took care of business against Portland. That was a mismatch to begin with. Portland, you've heard Damian Lillard say this is his words, an obsession to beat the Warriors. Well, Portland has to get good, much better if they're ever going to even compete with the Warriors. So, don't even think about that at this point. But nonetheless, Golden State took care of their business there. San Antonio's having a little bit more difficult time than we would have thought they would have. Even the Clippers are. The West is interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting to see San Antonio have a more difficult time. It's interesting to see the Clippers have a little bit of a more difficult time. And look, Houston's doing what we all thought they would do here. But we all knew that, look, this series was more about the matchup than it was, who won. Who won, because most people thought Houston would win because the Thunder cannot win with just Westbrook, and the Rockets have more going for them. So the West is interesting because of what's going on with the Spurs, because of what's going on with the Clippers. On the Eastern side of things, the Hawks shocked some people by tying the series up last night against the Wizards. I am shocked. That's been a little bit more competitive than I would have thought. The Hawks are nowhere near as good as they've been in years past this year. I know they got Dwight Howard there and such, but still, they're nowhere near as good. The Wizards are a team that many people thought could surprise in these playoffs, and they've let the Atlanta Hawks back into this, and they let them back into this with their defense. Because offensively, the Wizards have played very well. It's the defense that's kind of let them down in the series. And if they don't get it back on track, Atlanta could steal this series. Because while the Wizards have had a breakout year here, the Hawks aren't so bad that they can't pull this off. They're not. So on the flip side, the Celtics have come back from the dead essentially and tied this series up as they go home to Boston tomorrow night. Look, Chicago has to be really concerned here because you beat Boston in Game 1 in a game which Boston should have had. Thomas played a great game despite everything. Boston, that game was won by Boston, and the Bulls stole that game. And in Game 2, they dominated. You beat them in 2 different ways, and you came back to Chicago up 2-0. And right now, this whole series has flipped. Boston has reset the entire scene, and now it's Boston that looks like the team that we all thought they would be. While the Bulls are on their heels here, and they no longer look like a team that's capable of pulling off a surprise. Look, really what the Bulls have to do is they have to go back to taking this the way that they did in Games 1 and 2. You don't look at the whole game, you look at it by quarter. You win the quarters because you're nowhere near as good as the Boston Celtics are. And when you're not the better team, the only way that you can look at this, okay, especially in the NBA, is you look at it by quarter. Win the quarter, each individual quarter. If you win each individual quarter, or you win 3 out of those 4 quarters, chances are you're going to win the game. That's where you got to look at it. If you're that much worse than the team that you're playing, and they are. Look, they got Jimmy Butler. Yes, they got Dwayne. But yes, they got guys on the Bulls. I'm not saying they're a terrible team, but this on paper should be a mismatch. All right, and the thing that the Bulls did in the first 2 games was they took it quarter by quarter, and that's how they were able to put together those first 2 wins. They got to get back to that strategy again, and they have to do this in Boston because obviously they're going to have to win a game on the road if they're going to win this series. And you don't want this to be a Game 7. You want this to be in a Game 5. You want to win this game in Boston, Game 5, and go back home and take care of business. Otherwise, if Boston wins this game, I think this series is over. I think Boston will just take the next game and that'll be it. Because you would have broken the Bulls big time. So, yeah. So obviously, and then you got the Raptors and the Bucks, which look, Toronto now has a 3-2 lead. Toronto has been incredibly lucky in this series. Incredibly lucky in this series. The Bucks are a much better team than people give them credit for. We know that going into these playoffs. I don't think the Raptors took them seriously. I think their defense has been horrid, and there's no excuse for that given the impact players they have in the paint. Toronto has to turn up the defensive intensity, and they have to do it quick. Because even though they're up 3-2, Milwaukee has been a very good team at home. They could easily take this game. And, I don't know if Toronto, even though they played well at home, I don't know if they want to take a chance going on the road here. Well, they're not going to be on the road. I mean, I don't know if Toronto wants to take a chance here and play this game any longer. It is a Game 6. I don't know if you want to get to a Game 7 here, even in your building. This is a tough game here. I think if you're Toronto, even though you have Game 7 in your back pocket, take this series in 6. I know Milwaukee's tough at home, but take this in 6 because Milwaukee has nothing to lose. Toronto's been here, and they're no longer the underdog anymore. They're a team we expected to win. Got to get the job done, I think, in Game 6, or momentum, even though you're at home, is not going to necessarily be on your side. And obviously, Cleveland's taking care of their business. So, where we're standing right now is I still think for the majority of these series, you're going to see, in fact, in all of them, I still think you're going to see the favorites win. I still expect to see the Wizards. I still expect to see I think the Clippers are going to get this thing done somehow. I think the Celtics have fixed everything. The ship has been righted there. I think the Spurs will be okay. I think the Rockets will be okay. I think the Raptors will be okay. Obviously, we know that the Cavs and the Warriors are set. So I think all in all, everything's going to turn out as is. But some of these teams have had a harder time. The Spurs are. The Raptors have. The Clippers have. Some of them had a harder time. The Wizards. But in a way, I think it's good for the league that they have. Some of these series that I didn't think were going to be that good have ended up being pretty good. I've found myself able to watch many more games in this first round than I thought I would want to watch. I didn't think these series would be as competitive as they are. So I'm glad it's been more interesting as a whole than I thought it would be in the first round. So that's good for the league, I think. There's really not much to be said outside of what I just said. So. Obviously, as we're on the air tonight, we'll keep you up to date on the ongoing games here as they happen, as we always do during during playoffs and such. So we'll keep you up to date on all those. But in the meantime, Mike, do you have any thoughts on the NBA playoffs here?
Do I have any thoughts on the NBA?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, these guys in these series, I believe it's the Atlanta. I believe his name is Marquis Morris, is a crybaby bitch. Maybe don't complain when you do the same thing, bro. Maybe don't complain. That being said, yes, Toronto. I'm going to finish off Milwaukee because despite having Game 7 back in your back pocket, guess who kicked your ass in your home court the first game of the series?
Yep.
Milwaukee. Put the nail in that coffin there. Just saying. Besides, the win on the other team's home court, I believe. So if I'm Toronto, really, really want to put it away with Thursday. I almost said Wednesday. Other than that, I don't know. Chicago and Boston's a thing. Chicago and Boston's still a thing. They're playing not tonight. By the way, when you started talking, Oklahoma City was leading by like 6.
Mm-hmm.
After you finished talking, Houston's leading by like 6. If I'm Oklahoma, so you were talking for that long. Order pass, so you ramble. So if I'm Houston, the momentum in the series, Oklahoma City away now. Because almost all of these games have been close. 14, you're on a 14-4 run in the fourth quarter. Capitalize on that momentum, put them away, because you don't want Oklahoma City kind of starting to storm their way back in the series. And you were right. This is not the Oklahoma City team of a few years ago. They don't have Kevin Durant. They don't have Serge Ibaka. They don't have Dion Waiters. They don't have any of these guys that help them kind of get to an Eastern Conference final. It's Russell Westbrook and others. Because if you look on the roster, they have Victor Oladipo, who is really good and can get points. They have Taj Gibson, older, but he can get some points and some rebounds. They have Steven Adams. He scores 11 a game when he gets the ball. He has 6. It's like, here's the thing. Russell Westbrook, 8 points. The next highest scorers for their team are Oladipo and Gibson with 10 each. Pretty sure it came off of Gibson's 8 rebounds. Meanwhile, Harden has 21. Beverly has 15. This is Patrick Beverly. He has 15. Lou Williams, 20. Nene's got 12. It just highlights the fact that Oklahoma City, they do have players, but it's Russ and then fuck everybody else.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the problem with Oklahoma City. It's Russell Westbrook, and then everybody else can suck a dick because it's the Russell Westbrook show. Hey, you wonder why Durant left. Team's in the second round.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Houston, again, they're on a bit of a run now. Take advantage of it. Put them away. You have the players. Meanwhile, San Antonio's up on Memphis. It's a matter of time before San Antonio kind of pulls away from that series. Don't, but hey, you never know. He puts away a game, Portland. Showed up for like half that series. That was nice. Just kind of existed. Indiana, thanks for coming. Just waiting on Cleveland and Golden State's opponents and maybe the rest of the playoffs to happen. So, who knows? But again, if I'm Toronto and if I'm Houston, I put away these teams now.
Yeah.
A chance. Don't put them away now. Those other teams, well, maybe not so much Oklahoma City, but definitely Milwaukee will come back to bite you in the bunghole. So, yeah. And that's all I got to say about that. So watch your butts. The NBA is going hard all day, all night.
Wow, that's quite the way to put it. Wow.
You're welcome.
Anyway, on that note, we're going to shift. Again, we'll keep you updated on the ongoing NBA games as we go along here. That's all the sports stuff that we are going to cover. There's nothing else pressing that we have to cover right now, so we can move on. I know some people want me to talk about the Derek Jeter buying the Miami Marlins thing. I think we touched that a couple weeks ago. Until it goes official, I don't want to talk about it. Okay? That's something that's a ways away yet. They have to go to the owners' meeting and everything. I'm not going to talk about it yet until it's all finalized, if assuming it still does happen. So it looks like it's going to, but we'll talk about that as it goes along later on. But otherwise, there's nothing else pressing in sports, so we're going to shift the focus to entertainment and to the box office, which, look, we all knew it was going to be Fate of the Furious this weekend once again. It was. If you look at the weekend numbers, it was a down week. We all knew it would be. Fate of the Furious came in with 38.4 million, a 61.1% drop off, which is expected. It might have been I think they might have been a little higher. I don't know. I think we said 30, 40 million, maybe even low end of the higher on the 20s was possible for this movie in its second week, and it hit that. So I don't think it was too far off of what people thought. It might have been even a little over in some cases. So nothing shocking there. And then we figured that Boss Baby and Beauty and the Beast were going to be right behind it again, even though they've both been out for about a month and a half, respectively. Boss Baby stayed put in second with 12.7 million, a 20.6% drop off, and Beauty and the Beast stayed put in third with 9.6 million, a 29.5% drop off. So those movies continued to hold basically like they have all along. Nothing shocking there. Maybe what you were shocked by is what came in fourth and fifth. Going in Style moved up from fifth to fourth, came in with 4.9 million, a 21.9% drop off. That movie held better than people thought it would. Now it ended up, I guess in a range that wasn't too shocking, but I think people might have thought, even though it's not shocking to see it here, that it would drop even a little bit further, and it didn't. So Smurfs The Lost Village dropped from fifth to fourth with 4.8 million, a 27.3% drop off, which again wasn't too bad. Maybe, Spring Break helped it on Friday. Same thing with some of these movies. I think got helped by the fact that in some cases Spring Break was still going on Friday. I think that kind of helped them a little bit. Now, we had several new releases last week, none of which were huge, but you had Disney's latest Earth Day film, Disney Nature film, Born in China, came in sixth place with 4.7, which is pretty good. I think it's one of the better debuts. So nothing too bad there. I mean, look, it could have seen 6 or 7 million. I think most times that's what I predict for them, and they usually fall under that. But this was pretty good for a total, so that's not bad. Unforgettable came in seventh for 4.7 million as well. Not great, but again, it's only a $12 million film. I don't think much was expected of it, judging by the budget anyway. Gifted expanded into 840 more theaters, came in with 4.5 million in eighth, which isn't too bad. And then you had the two other new releases last week, or expanded releases, were The Promise and Phoenix Forgotten. Promise came in ninth with a little over 4 million. Phoenix Forgotten came in 11th with 1.8 million, which again was right on par with what we all thought. I think The Promise might have done a little bit better than even I thought it would. Not great, but again, not surprising. So nothing too surprising here. None of the new releases cracked 5 million. We suspected that could be the case. Even though in some cases, I think I might have been higher on Born in China and Unforgettable. I thought they might go above 5 million, but they didn't. So, but if you look at the box office as a whole last week, it wasn't that bad. When you got Fate of the Furious near 40 million, and Boss Baby and Beauty and the Beast both hold around 10, 11, 12 million, that ends up making it an okay weekend at the box office, especially for late April, especially for like a quiet kind of week with no huge releases. So all in all, it's not a bad week on average here. A couple little tidbits to note here before we shift to focus here. Fate of the Furious is going to cross the $1 billion mark probably this weekend, and join Beauty and the Beast for as the second movie to cross the $1 billion worldwide mark this year. It's done in, I think, very close to being record time, but it's going to do it. It's going to do it this weekend, no doubt. So that's a little tidbit. If you're wondering where Fate of the Furious is as far as domestic, right now it's at 165.7, so it's doing a lot of money overseas, but that was expected with this movie. So it's been a great year worldwide for film. Beauty and the Beast, 1.1 billion. Fate of the Furious at 910 million. Will cross the $1 billion mark. Logan at 606 million. Kong Skull Island, 559 million. And 50 Shades Darker, 378. So it's been a great, very strong year so far. And we haven't hit summer yet. So it's, last year you had some big movies in March and April, yes, but you look across the board here, see this many movies, about 300 million worldwide, is just tremendous. So it's been a good year for film. So that's this. I want to note some of those statistics there. You have two new releases, and the further expansion of The Promise from Open Roads Films, that'll be expanding into 2,251 theaters total. This movie, I just mentioned what it did last week. but it wasn't too awful either. This movie stars Christian Bale and Oscar Isaac. It's a $90 million budget, made already as I said, $4.5 million domestic. It'll be expanding into 2,251 theaters. So, we'll see what happens there. Also, keep an eye on this film, Slight, a sci-fi action film from BA's Tilt. It's opening in 550 theaters. It's come out of Sundance in 2016. WW Films is behind this as well. R-rated. It's gotten some buzz. I wouldn't expect it to pull in more than $3 million the way it's projecting, but we'll see. Keep an eye on that one. That could conceivably surprise people and go a little bit over $5 million. Even with the low theater count, it could, because it's been well promoted, but I highly doubt it. I really do. $3 million might be the benchmark there. The two big releases, the biggest release is The Circle, a drama thriller from STX Entertainment, opening in 3,163 theaters. PG-13, starring Emma Watson, Tom Hanks, John Boyega, Karen Gillan, Patton Oswalt, and Bill Paxton, the late Bill Paxton. $18 million budget, so it's not going to need much. It's gotten some buzz. It's been well promoted. Obviously, Emma's coming off of Beauty and the Beast. You got Tom Hanks there, Bill Paxton. John Boyega is coming out of Star Wars. Could do some things. It could, I could see it breaking 20 million. I don't think it's going to go much higher than that, because it's going to fall into that trap of some you will get some young people to see it, people that want to see Emma or John, and you're going to have it, but I think it's going to mostly skew older. So because of that, that could limit it to that 20, 22, $23 million range. Could it surprise and break 30? I guess, but I wouldn't plan on it, especially with us this is the transition week out of the spring movie season, or what people are calling early summer now, of all the big movies that come out now in March and April. This is the transition to summer movie season, with next week with Guardians and everything. Usually this week is kind of like a more laid back week, but who knows? You could see, but Circle could do 20, 21, 22 million. And then you have another movie in How to Be a Latin Lover, a comedy from Pantheon, opening in 1,000 theaters. Now, I remember seeing a lot of promotion for this movie, and this movie stars Rob Lowe, Christian Bale, Eugenio Derbez, and Raquel Welch. I remember seeing a lot of promotion for this film a couple months ago. It's PG-13, and then all of a sudden it stopped, and then now it's picked up a little bit again. Look, it's in 1,000 theaters. The promotion has been kind of up and down. I don't see it breaking 5 million. If it gets to around 5 million, it should be lucky. It's probably looking at like 4.5 if it's at best. Again, promotion's been rather up and down. Not a whole lot going for it, but that's kind of what happens in late April. You get some of these kind of movies. So basically, I'm expecting Fate of the Furious to take number one again, unless The Circle surprises. If The Circle surprises and exceeds, actually, it might be close between The Circle and Fate of the Furious, because Fate of the Furious is probably going to drop to around 20. So if The Circle pulls in around 21, 22, it could beat it. But I'll go with Fate of the Furious around 20, 22 million. The Circle around 20, 21. Maybe the Fate of the Furious just inching it out for the number one spot. And then after that, I think you'll see maybe Boss Baby around 8 million or so. Beauty and the Beast around 6, 7, 7.5 million. How to Be a Latin Lover, maybe around 4.5. And then probably The Promise might finish right where it did last week, around 4. And everything else will be under that, I believe. Including Slight, which I think will come in around maybe 3 million, 2.5, maybe even less than that. So not a busy week, but it won't be. I don't think it'll be a horrible weekend. I don't think box office has that many horrible weeks anymore. Usually they can get a movie to at least 20 million now, the amount of big movies that come out. So, but this is, as I said, the transitional week, and next week next week sets the table for the whole summer. Guardians of the Galaxy, and that obviously that we all know what will win the weekend, but we'll talk more about that next week and set the table for that and how big of a movie it's going to be as far as gross goes and all that next week. Mike, do you have any thoughts box office the last week, this week, or in general?
Why did you have to interrupt me watching the great Shinsuke Nakamura carrying Dolph Ziggler through another segment?
I didn't mean to.
You have by far the worst timing of anybody.
Do you ever just like not watch stuff during the show?
When you go on and on and on.
Actually, only talked for 10 minutes. That's not bad.
I watched stuff for 10 minutes.
All right, move on. Go on.
I have something to say about the box office? No.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I honestly do not.
Fair
Guardians
enough.
of the Galaxy.
I think next week you'll have something to contribute, I'm sure. Yeah, next week we start the summer box office season. We set the table for the entire summer. Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll talk about that next week. We'll go into all detail about how well we expect it to do, all that stuff. Hint, hint. We expect it to do very well. So we'll talk more about that next week as we do present our box office. That'll be on Tuesday, of course, next week. Quick score update here. Let's dance around here. We got 5:22 left in the fourth quarter. This game on TNT. The Rockets now lead. The Rockets lead the Thunder 95-90. As Mike said, they made a significant comeback. So Thunder on the ropes here. We'll see if their season ends tonight. And then you got 10:59 left in the third quarter. This game on NBA TV. The San Antonio Spurs lead the Memphis Grizzlies 59-49. As soon as that Thunder Rocket game is over on TNT, you'll have the Jazz and the Clippers. That game will obviously start late. That series tied at 2 games apiece. And that series from the Staples Center in LA. So I'll keep you updated on those games and scores as we go along here. And we don't have much left. So while we're on the air, we'll update you, obviously. But once we're off, you're on your own. But first, we have some TV highlights to get to. Mike, TV highlights. Do you have any? He says. Probably. I just interrupt Shinsuke Nakamura again.
Yes. Yeah, Dolph Ziggler just accused him of being Japanese Michael Jackson. And Shinsuke Nakamura is like, it's not 2006. Me.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to move everything along. But okay.
I, honest to God, thought you were moving things along, which is why I turned off my mic.
Well, I was moving on to,
because I thought you were talking.
I moved on to the next segment. I started with you.
And then I assumed you threw it to me. Hi, Justin. Fake Canadian guy. Someday he's going to be a real Canadian boy. Someday he'll be a Canadian boy. Until then, he'll just eat poutine with joy.
Mike, that means you have to find and I won't be having to drive you every time.
What was that? I couldn't hear you between all the A's.
I like that. I couldn't hear you under all the A's. That's funny.
Get the Timbits out of your mouth and then start talking. Anyways, what was the segment?
TV highlights, Mike. TV highlights.
Oh, TV highlights. Okay. I know. I watch TV. I will say this.
Of course you do.
I will say this. I really wish everybody has been watching Training Day. Training Day. I mean, obviously now it's CBS put it on Saturdays. don't know if they're going to keep the show after, and in light of circumstances. It's hard. I don't know. It's in disarray. You know, with the late Bill Paxton, he and the rest of the cast are doing excellent work. Training Day is a really, really good show, and like it would have been. I feel like it would have been renewed. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, circumstances not played out, but can't fight time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Paxton is so good. The rest of the cast is so good, and they're building a great story. It's one of those shades of gray procedural, you know, cop procedurals, but it's really good. Doing some good work in this one. The most recent episode featured, it was like, it started like, this innocent person was the target of a hit and run. Not hit and run, like a drive-by shooting.
Right.
There was more to that, the eye, and it was a very good episode. Had a nice story, and kind of kept moving forward. It was a great. I highly recommend Training Day. It's a great show, a really, really good show, and sort of Doctor Who called Smile, G episode. So the thing about Doctor Who, it's like you might hear it's like, the robots communicate with emojis. Well, that's great. Such a complex episode and story. It's what you expect from Doctor Who. That means like, it's the emojis. It's so dumb. But like the way the robots were presented was truly kind of scary at times. Really good episode. It was a really good episode of Doctor Who. Again, enjoy Peter Capaldi while it lasts, because last season as the Doctor, and he and Bill and Nardole, Matt Lucas, can't forget Nardole, are just doing great work. Even though Matt Lucas was only in this episode for about like 3 lines, maybe 4, but his role was really funny. The show Class, which is the Doctor Who spinoff that airs after, really intense. That was really intense. It was a good episode. They're kind of moving in a direction. They're opening up, and they're kind of starting to be like almost a team now. It was pretty solid. There were some light moments, but most of it was. It's not as light as Doctor Who is. Who has the benefit of having Peter Capaldi. Stand on its own. It's a good. I think so far it's been pretty good. I will say I caught up on Powerless. Green Furious episode, not as bad as I thought. Okay, and the next episode, which is her getting caught and her getting stuck in the fog, was pretty good. Powerless is doing okay. The Green Furious one had a really clever ending where it's like, how do we get the Green Fury to not kind of demean herself? Well, we get the Olympian. He's an attention whore and would jump at the chance to be naked on camera. He was. So, I mean, it was a clever ending. Powerless, I recommend. I didn't get to the new episode of Artful Detective this week. I did not get. Obviously, we're not episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow is done for the season. I didn't get to a lot of the new episodes because we were doing the segment early in the week.
Yeah.
I will say that the last week's couple Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I am caught up on the show until tonight. It's an interesting story again, and I really want more Grant Ward. as I said, I think to you or on the show, I'm ready for Good Guy Ward again. I am. My TV highlights because, well, there isn't a whole lot to highlight at the moment.
Yeah.
Doing this earlier than usual.
Yeah, we're doing this.
Doctor Who class. I always recommend Murdoch. I want to say Taken was okay, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm really recommending Taken. It's a nice action-y series. Get renewed. Who knows? And Training Day, recommend Class, recommend Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And Powerless. Enjoy that one while it lasts.
Here's the thing. Because we are doing this, see, here's the thing. Whenever we do this kind of like Thursday, Tuesday thing, when we sometimes have to move entertainment stuff to Tuesday, and we just did we just did a TV highlights on Thursday, it doesn't leave you with a whole lot. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is essentially all it leaves you with, unless you catch up on something over the weekend you want to mention it. You know what I mean? So unless you watch something over the weekend, then you're kind of stuck. And I really don't have anything at this point. I mean, I did watch Gotham, and I kind of liked it because there was no Jim Gordon for the most part. It was Bruce training, which is awesome, and it was Nigma becoming Riddler, which again is awesome. So it was a lot of canon kind of stuff, which is why I kind of like the episode. Plus, they're finally doing something with the Court of Owls after spending all of the back half of season 2 kind of implying that they're there, and then starting season 3 off with them in full force, and then kind of dropping them off a little bit, and then in typical Gotham fashion, drop something and then pick it back up. But they're kind of going into it a little bit, and they're getting to the Ra's al Ghul stuff, which starting to feel a little bit like Batman Begins. But still, I'd rather have that kind of stuff than whole storylines become about Jim Gordon and his love life. So all in all, it was pretty good. Plus, they finally gave Lucius Fox something to do, which is interesting.
Well, they took him from a season and a half.
Yeah. They finally gave Lucius Fox something. Isn't it funny how when you get Jim Gordon out of everything, you can give other characters time? It's funny how that happens. But yeah, it was a good episode. Look, they have a nice little streak going right now. They have a nice streak because of Jerome. They didn't have that 3-episode Jerome thing before the break, then they'd be in some trouble. But that's kind of got them in a nice little momentum thing here. They can keep the focus on Bruce and Nigma and Penguin and that and the court stuff, then they'll be okay. But if they go back to all Jim Gordon all the time, it's going to fall off the rails again. That's when the show is at its worst. It's when Jim Gordon's the dominant. We had 2 seasons of Jim Gordon dominating the show. Finally, this year, they've realized that was a bad idea. So hopefully they stay out of it. That's already all I watched. Everything else I watched last week, I mentioned it on Thursday. So I don't have anything else, which is fine because we have a couple entertainment news things to get to before we wind down. So let's do that because that's the end of TV highs. We don't have a lot. Again, we just did this on Thursday, so it's not a whole lot. I just wanted to do it because we have to do it every week. Mike, you mentioned Powerless, right?
Is it canceled?
Well, it's done. They pulled the rest of the episodes from the schedule. Made the announcement officially today.
That's too bad.
Yeah, look. Truth be honest, I half expected it 2 weeks ago. I thought they might pull it. There were signs that they might. They just didn't. I'm guessing. It's probably because of sweeps. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why they did it. They waited out April, and then they said, it's May. Let's pull it. So that's probably what the motivation was there. But, yeah, Powerless has been officially pulled. Now, look, this I can't remember the last time we go into May with so many shows still left alive. Usually by now we've had significant cancellations. That has not happened. This is going to be one of these weird years where you're not going to really have cancellations. You're just going to have the upfronts, and they're just going to tell you what's on the schedule and what isn't. I think the only network that did that last year was ABC. I think ABC did that a lot last year, where it's kind of like they left shows lingering, and then they're like, oh, boom, 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 you're canceled. See you later. Have a nice day. But to have all these networks do that, it's kind of interesting to see them doing that. It's like, goes to show you how the game has changed. So many of these shows, they can't get a read of whether they should stay or whether they should go. So we'll see. But we know Powerless is done at this point. That's a given. Not that we. So you have that. Disney made some waves today. They announced their release schedule for a number of their big films. Some delays as well. Some surprising news here. I would say, because a month ago they said Wreck-It Ralph and then they delayed it, which is interesting. So you have Star Wars Episode 9, which is confirmed to be released on May 24, 2019. The fifth Indiana Jones movie with Harrison Ford coming back and Steven Spielberg directing will be set for July 19th, 2019. So you're going to get Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Oh, it's been postponed. Okay. It was originally set for July 19th of 2019. It's now set for July 10th of 2020. So you have a date on that one. Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's been delayed 7 months. It'll now be released on November 21st, 2018, when it was supposed to be in March. So Disney has decided to move up a wrinkle in time from April 6th of that year to March 9th of 2018, which is originally Wreck-It Ralph's date. So you have that. The Lion King now has a release date, and that is July 19th, 2019. There's more news on that in a minute. Disney's animated film Gigantic has been delayed by 2 years, from November 21st, 2018 to November 25th, 2020. Frozen 2 will fill the gap in between there. It's going to jump in in 2019, November 27th of 2019. And then you have a live-action comedy known as Magic Camp. It was originally set for August 3rd, 2018. It will now show up on April 6th of 2018. And then they've also announced a few placeholders, an untitled live-action film on August 9th of 2019, of April 3rd of 2020, and of March 12th of 2021. Animated films, an animated film on November 12th, November 24th of 2021. A Pixar film on June 18th of 2021. And there is a mystery Marvel Studios film that was originally scheduled for July 10th of 2020. It is now set for August 7th of 2020. So the thing to take away from here is they delayed Wreck-It Ralph and a couple other movies. They've given us a release date on The Lion King and Frozen 2. I guess nothing really earth-shattering other than that. It's really just a way for Disney to scare the crap out of all the other studios to move their stuff. I mean, that's really all that is. They don't really have to announce all those movies ahead of time, but, that's what happens when you're the mouse. You can scare everybody else, I guess.
Yep.
I mentioned The Lion King. Today they announced who will be playing Timon and Pumbaa in The Lion King. Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen are going to be voicing Timon and Pumbaa.
Yes, I saw that.
And I think that Seth Rogen one is kind of inspired, to be honest. If we couldn't get the original, that one's kind of pretty good, to be honest.
For people are calling for Franco and Rogen to be Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah.
We're half right.
Yeah. But, I mean, Seth Rogen is a kind of a good match, so I didn't really question that too much. And then another big piece of news today, Adam Sandler and Chris Rock are going to be reuniting for a Netflix original movie that'll be released next year. So, look, I don't know why people were that shocked. Adam Sandler's got like a 7-picture deal with Netflix. But I guess it's because him and Chris Rock, they've done movies together. Obviously, they've done the Grown Ups movies. But the fact that they're co-starring together, I think, is the thing that everybody's kind of excited about. So there's that. But there is some news that's been going on, and I don't think it's getting enough attention. And we're not going to talk about it at length here because it really could. I think it's something we're going to do a full segment on in a couple weeks once it happens. The writer's strike, which oddly enough, unless you've been following entertainment sites or trades or anything like that, you don't know about. And these things kind of sneak up on people because people don't pay attention to these things. And look, I understand why. I mean, it's all, most people are not going to understand it. They'll get bored with it. They don't want to hear about it. The fact is, the authorization has been voted on. It will likely happen if they don't reach a deal by next Tuesday, which is May the 2nd. It's been coming. It's been building for a number of months. You recall we had a writer's strike in 2008. Look, this will not affect the majority of the TV season unless you're a show that hasn't started. If you're going to start filming in May, it'll affect you. If you have episodes already in the can, you're pretty much good to go. You know, because a lot of these shows, I mean, and you know, some shows do write things way out too, so they might be protected against it. But you know, films and development, it's going to hurt them. The thing about this is that this is more about TV than it is about film. And it's about TV because in many cases with the advent of streaming, and with some shows deciding that it's better to run shorter seasons than longer, it's look, the reduced episodes, reduced workload, and then of course, you know, the sheer fact that salaries haven't increased with these with all the different programming that's now needed, with so many different ways to watch TV, with on demand, with streaming sites, with cable, with, you know, there's more places, there's more channels, so more programming is needed. So therefore, there's more opportunities for shows. Salaries haven't went up because with that. And at the same time, you have some shows that are reducing their episode orders, or in some cases with streaming sites, when they have shows, they have short orders to begin with. So you add all this together, basically, salaries aren't good enough. There's not enough protection for writers. There's a lot, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's more to it than just that. They do. To me, there's no way that they get this done before next Tuesday because they've been so far apart throughout in terms of the money that I don't see a way that they can close the gap in less than a week's time. The best you can hope for is that this is a short strike. The last strike lasted, I think, 100 days. Let's say it lasts about the same. What are the ramifications? Well, the TV season will not start in September. It just won't. You might be looking at it, and here's the thing: if you have to, let's say theoretically you feel like you have to start the season in November. Let's say they go back to work in like July or something. You start the TV season in November. You might as well not bother because you got Christmas a month away, and TV and most of the broadcast networks do not like to broadcast new episodes during Christmas season. So what you're going to get is shortened seasons of everything. They'll start in January, and anything that's on the mid-season replacement list will get held for basically a year. They'll just start all the shows that were going to start in September and January and use those for the rest of the season. That's what will happen. So, you know, it's going to have a drastic effect. Shows like The Walking Dead, for instance, would start filming in May. They might get affected by this. There's going to be repercussions. As far as films go, you might see some films get delayed, but again, it doesn't tend to affect films as much as it does TV. Late night shows are the ones that, and talk shows are the ones that get hit the most early. Because they're the ones that are daily and they get hit hard by this. They'll be pretty much in the reruns almost immediately if this doesn't get done. So, and it won't. I hate to be a pessimist, but it won't get done before next Tuesday. It just won't. It's just too much of a gap. You know, it's one of those things. But look, this is the nature of the beast. For those that don't think you've ever been through one, you have. It's 8 years ago you were. And it did cripple Hollywood for a while, and it takes a while to come back from it. But you know what? you see the point of both sides. And it's one of those things where us outsiders are going to look at it and go, what are you squabbling about? You get paid well. Well, that's for us, if we were in that situation, we see it differently. So it's all about perspective. But as it stands right now, it doesn't look good. I think they've already pretty much voted to authorize it. They have. So,
all over Twitter, they have.
Yeah. So, unless a miracle happens in less than 7 days, it's going to happen next Tuesday. So, not fun, but it is what it is. So you hope that they work something out. If they don't, you hope that it's over with very quickly. Although these things aren't usually over with quickly, they do usually last at least a couple months. I would say this: look at the bright side. If it was going to happen, at least it's happening at this time of year, as opposed to the last time. Well, I think it happened like right in the middle of the fall. I think it happened like in November or something like that. I remember it was like at the end of the year. And it was a worse time. Right now, it will affect some shows, but it won't affect as many as it would if it hit in the fall. So we'll see how it goes. This is something we'll talk about. Probably we'll do, like I said, we'll do a segment about it as we get into May and such. When we do like upfronts and stuff, we'll talk about it because it is a big deal, and it really hasn't gotten as much discussed. It's interesting. And I remember in 2008, it was everywhere. Like you couldn't go anywhere and not hear people mention it. It was all over the news and. This time around, it's been kind of quiet. If you really look, you'll see it, but it hasn't been given as much focus as the last time around. So it's interesting that that's the case. But yeah, we'll definitely be talking more about that in the weeks to come. You can rest assured of that. Mike, do you have anything to add? Any thoughts before we move on?
It was only a matter of time. Maybe the studio should be treating these people better. Here we are.
Yeah. And it makes me laugh because you go through enough of these strikes. If you're the studios, you have to know when as soon as you start realizing, like, in a year that the deal is up, you should start working to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, they have not figured that out.
No, it's like they keep thinking that eventually they're going to see eye to eye. Like, oh, wow, it's okay that you're not paying us as much as we should. It's okay. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do anything about it. How many times have you been down this road? Do you think they would have learned something from how many other strikes they've had? But anyway.
Unfortunately, they have not.
No, clearly, no. But anyway, let's hope for the best there. Yeah, we'll be talking more about that in the weeks to come. That's the only stuff I wanted to touch on because that's stuff that either some of you sent in or stuff that I found that was worth talking about. Well, the Thunder, or so I say, Russell Westbrook's season is over. The Rockets took out the Thunder 105-99 to win the series 4-1.
So the Oklahoma City Russell Westbrooks are done.
They are gone, yes. So Houston will move on. 2:04 left in the third on NBA TV. San Antonio Spurs lead the Memphis Grizzlies 84-66. So they have pulled away in that third quarter. So Spurs looking good there. And TNT's second game of the night is underway. 7:09 left in the first. Utah leads the Clippers 11-7 in a series that also again is tied 2 games apiece. So another series ends tonight. Houston has moved on, and they will play the winner of the San Antonio-Memphis series. Golden State will get the winner of the Utah-Clipper series. So Russell Westbrook gets to go home.
Might have had an MVP season, but maybe you should have developed your supporting cast a little bit more, Russ.
And that comes from experience, and that comes from giving him the ball.
Unfortunately, that's not what happens.
But not really surprising. I think we all suspected Houston would win that series, and there you go. So, all right. So those games I mentioned, again, one on NBA TV1, TNT, you can check those out. I would, because they look like they're going to be good games. Memphis is not out of that game yet. They're closing the gap. They're only down 13. So both games worth watching for sure. And what has been a much more interesting NBA first round than I would have anticipated. So good for the league there. All right, so with that score update, that'll be the last score update we give. We are done for tonight. As always, the show might be over. It's not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback. We need it. We cherish it. Please continue sending it in. Questions, reactions, or questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, reactions, comments, or opinions on things we talked about on the show. Reactions on our opinions, any of that kind of stuff. Topic ideas or breaking news items that you want us to cover on the show related to sports, entertainment, or wrestling. You can send those in as well. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you're on it or once you find it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially when it comes to scheduling. Obviously, postponements and delays happen, technical difficulties, all that kind of stuff. We also post random thoughts. We talk about those, post information on those things on there. We also post random thoughts on there as well, random opinions, all that kind of stuff. So to have access to all that, make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for In the Spotlight 401, and you will find us, and you can like us and follow us, and you'll have access to all of that. If you like to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes, you can do that in two ways. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411, and you'll have access to every episode ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October 2015 all the way up into tonight's episode. Those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you wish on Google Plus and YouTube. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming's not your thing, maybe you don't like seeing us on screen, maybe you're interested in older episodes of the show, maybe you want to listen to us on the go. If any of that applies to you, make sure you check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. And once you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both those sites, where you'll find every episode we've ever produced over the nearly 7 years we've been doing this show. That's everything from our original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 to January 2011. Everything from our Talk Shoe run from January 2011 all the way up until mid-October 2015. And, of course, everything for our Google Plus YouTube run, our current Google Plus YouTube run, everything from mid-October 2015 all the way up into tonight's episode. All those episodes, of course, transfer into audio format for your convenience. All episodes are in order from the most recent date to the oldest. So maybe you're a long-time fan, let's check out an episode from 4 or 5 years ago, or a fan just trying to keep up on an episode, maybe missed a part of an episode, or want to listen to an episode again, or miss an episode entirely, whatever the case may be. Or maybe you're a new fan and wants to check out an episode from way back when to see how we were like back then. If any of that applies to you, you can do all that on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, always keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. All you have to do is search for In the Spotlight 411 on all those sites. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411 on all those sites. So make sure to utilize those resources. They are very, very helpful. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
It is, in fact, time for bed.
I want to thank myself for another great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and your contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching or listening to this later, thank you to you as well. We do appreciate it. That is it for tonight. Again, as I mentioned, our next show will be this coming Thursday, All Wrestling Show, previewing WWE's Payback pay-per-view. As always, we'll go over all the matches, make predictions, address questions and comments from the fans in the second half of the show. So if you have a question or comment you haven't submitted yet, you can do so by Facebook and Twitter, either before the show or, of course, by email, Facebook and Twitter, I should say, either before the show or during the show on Thursday. So please keep that in mind. Next week, of course, one show. On Tuesday of next week, that's May the 2nd, there'll be a sports, entertainment, wrestling kind of combo show. We'll discuss all the big highlights from wrestling, all the big highlights from sports, including the NBA playoffs. And, of course, we'll do box office beat, TV highlights, and all that good stuff that we always do in a week. All that will be done on next Tuesday's show. And again, next Thursday, we'll be preempted. So please keep that in mind. That's next Thursday, May 4th. We will be preempted. So as I drop my thing here, my mouse here. So yeah, so keep that in mind. Next Thursday, May 4th, we will be preempted. So only one show next week, and that'll be on next Tuesday, May the 2nd. So, and I'll give you more information on what's going to happen beyond that as we get closer. Again, too much information too fast gets people confused. So I'll just leave it at that. So that is it for tonight. I hope you all have a good rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and of course, a great Thursday. We'll see you back here for our next show this coming Thursday night, which is April the 27th. Broadcasting and streaming live here on YouTube Live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Hopefully, we don't have any problems. Everything's going to be fixed and we can start on time. That's the hope. Let's cross our fingers. But until Thursday, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, have a good night, everybody.